Over the past 60 years, ITV has got close to the heart of things that really mattered.
Do you know what's meant by the word snogging?
No, I don't. I'm afraid I don't, so I'm a sailor.
In this series, we're celebrating extraordinary archive from across the country that shows just how much our lives have changed.
Do you know what VAT is?
The what?
VAT.
VAT.
From how we got about to a good old-fashioned night out.
I command you to draw 2 glasses of your best ale.
Here is my best ale.
So prepare for a televisual trip back in time. This was Britain as seen on ITV. It's not just Simon Cowell and friends that know this great nation's got talent. Tonight, using amazing ITV archive that has lay on the shelves for decades, we'll reveal how television has celebrated the strangest talents of otherwise ordinary people from up and down the country. Don't worry, he's here all week. Over 60 years, we've roped in a wide range of talented individuals and persuaded them to do their thing on the box.
Just a spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down, the medicine go down, the medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down in a most delightful way.
All right, sweetie, don't milk it. Leave that to this chap from Sedgley. In the early 1970s, 9 out of 10 pints were delivered direct to our doorsteps. Back then, everyone knew the man bringing their milk and eggs. But not everybody had a daily visitor like this chap, featured on ATV News in the Midlands.
Could you sing Little Girls Were Made to Love and Kiss, please?
Girls were made to love and kiss, so am I.
Maybe you should have attended a school for aspiring pop stars. Like this one that was filmed over 50 years ago by ITV in Wales.
The worst one is the one who thinks they're a star because mum and dad and aunt and uncle said, you're wonderful in the front room. Now that person comes along and you've got to knock that right out of their head for a start.
Well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, so let's take a look at one of his protégés.
Some other guy now, taking our love away from me, oh now. Some other guy now, taking away my sweet, sweet love, oh now. Some other guy now, well I just don't want him on my mind, oh now. I'm a lonely one.
Oh, Ronnie, that's wonderful. I'll tell you what. You see, you're getting all these wonderful movements, but you're not quite concentrating on the microphone. Yeah. We don't want to lose that.
OK, who's next?
Sweets for my sweet, sugar for my honey, give a sweet kiss from me so...
No, Charlie, you're doing very nicely, but you're far too stinted. You're not relaxed. You see, this here is sort of hard. I'll just show you, if I can, how I think it should be to be nice and relaxed. Yeah. Here we go. Johnny. Sweets for my sweet, sugar for my honey, da-da-da-da-da-dee-dee-dee.
At least the young lad knew the words.
Sweets for my sweet, sugar for my honey.
Despite what you've just seen and heard, the 1960s were a golden era for British music. Rock and roll history was being created by new acts like the Searchers and the Rolling Stones. OK, girls, no need to get carried away.
Thousands of British teenagers bought guitars and drum kits on the Never Never. They let their hair down over their eyebrows and the group Stampede was on.
British bands were taking the world by storm, and the ITV documentary series World in Action got in on the act by following a band tip for big things, the 4+1s.
These 4 boys form one of the 10,000 beat groups fighting to get to the top. It's a struggle, and a hard one at that. Junior plays lead guitar. He's 16 and used to be a sheet metal worker. Boots, the bass guitarist, is 19. Ken, the drummer, is 17 and gave up a place at college to play with the group.
We're working about 7 nights a week now, earning about £30 to £40 each. That's not much though when consider we're doing concerts every night and also rehearsals all day.
know, we have a ball on stage, which is one of the main things. We all sort of rave about and everything, and the kids like it. And everybody enjoys themselves, you know, and it's great, you know, a great laugh.
And with a new breed of budding pop stars came the businessmen and the money makers.
Well, we look through the charts, we buy the new records of the new releases of groups which are not signed with our agency, and if we like the records, if we find they've got a fair chance of going into the hit parade, then we buy them for ballroom dates from their agents, and if they do hit the charts in a big way, then we're on very good profits.
OK, fellas, let's do a take now.
But in order to get that chart success, a group first needed to get into the recording studio.
Riding along on a carousel, will I catch up to you?
And another ITV documentary from 1967 featured one of the 60s most successful groups, taking advantage of the latest recording equipment.
The Hollies are riding profitably on the revolution that's transformed recording techniques. A few years ago, they'd have been recording on discs, a hit-or-miss studio session without time for technical refinements.
Still so far away. People fighting for their...
Now, the Hollies recording manager, Ron Richards, can graft 4 tracks onto the 1-inch tape on the studio recorder.
The reason we do this is not to make sort of good artists out of bad artists. This we can't do. I mean, we can't make a singer sing in tune. If he sings out of tune, this we can't do anything about.
Oh, how things have changed. But there was one famous band that didn't need any help singing in tune.
Beatles recording manager George Martin is another manipulator of sound. He's encouraged the Beatles to experiment in some recent sessions.
Tape and electronics have brought an enormous new feel to music. It's surprising what you can do once you have a sound recorded on tape.
And that feel would help to make the Fab Four one of the most loved acts of all time. But revealing vox pops with the public on the streets of Halifax in 1962 show that not everybody appreciated their talents.
Excuse me, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Have you heard the Beatles' new record?
No.
You know I love you.
I've never written much to Beatles, only when they first come out. Yeah, I don't like them at all.
What do you think of the Beatles?
Not much.
What do you mean by not much?
Well, they've gone off now.
Help me, help me, help me.
The latest one I know of is the Thingamabob. Of course, I'm interested in brass.
And he wasn't the only one. Over the years, ITV has often documented our love of all things brass. A sound that's distinctly British, but not always northern. In fact, in 1972, this documentary showed band leader Eddie Rogers from London ignoring the growth in pop music and trying to get the kids of the day interested in more traditional big band sounds.
I teach Bach, I teach Beethoven, but what I'm afraid of is that in 30, 40 years' time, all this country will have is 94,000 guitarists and 18,000 drummers.
That's a big band.
I firmly believe that the big band era is coming back. And I want to train these boys to play this sort of music because it's difficult and it's still instructional.
Nice moves, Eddie, but it's a no from me. Brass might not have made the comeback that Eddie was hoping for, but a peek into the ITV archive from the 1970s shows he wasn't the only one trying to get us to appreciate traditional tunes. Long before the days of internet tutorials, Yorkshire TV even gave Swedish guitarist Ulf Goran his own weekend morning series.
Hey, and hey, that is Swedish, and it is hi in English, I think. C and C.
In his heyday, Ulf was one of the world's leading guitar teachers, and with a little assistance from his studio guests, he hoped to get the musical masses strumming along at home.
Beautiful. Now then, you might think it's terribly difficult because you think you're not musical enough or got no musical ear. Well, that's not true, because you all got musical ear. I did fight many, many hundred times, not many hundreds, but hundreds of times before I got this. song correct, because it's really a tongue-twisting one for me. I go back home with my pocket full of tin and so on, and then speeding it up. I'll try to do my very best now. Are you sitting comfortable? I'm give it a try. The Campton ladies sing this song, doo-da, doo-da.
Merchant seaman turned guitar guru Ulf recorded nearly 30 episodes of a series that both entertained and bemused viewers in equal measure before returning to his native Scandinavia.
Going to run all night, going to run all day. I'll bet my money on a bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay.
But the archive's not just full of traditional songs being played on traditional instruments. Over 60 years, ITV has charted the changing face of modern music, often from surprising surroundings.
There you are.
All most people probably know about electronic music is just the theme music for the Doctor Who series. But here at York University, £18,000 worth of taxpayers' money is being used on developing just that. In the studio here, 18 undergraduates and 6 postgraduates spend their time composing and performing their own music with the aid of all the latest electronic equipment. In charge of the project is Mr. Richard Orton, a university lecturer in music.
Each of these faders here can be a sound, a sound of any complexity. I have another sound here, which I can then mix with this sound and change the levels like this.
Less than a decade later, and just down the road in Leeds, Yorkshire Television was reporting that the synthesizer had moved out of the university lab into the recording studio and the charts.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away.
Reporting on pop history in the making was the future king of daytime television, Richard Madeley.
Now then, I know exactly how it feels to be starring in a Fred Astaire film. In fact, this isn't a film, this isn't a gathering for the University May Ball. It's a very special gathering of a group of very special young people. They call themselves the New Romantics, but take one look at the costumes they're wearing, and I think you might agree that that's the understatement of the year.
The man behind the music was a then relatively unknown singer called Mark Almond.
I think the whole thing is just about being sort of people being individuals and just having a good time and dressing up and enjoying themselves. I think it's a thing that you can't really put a tag on at all.
Oh, tainted love.
Well, the music has certainly stood the test of time. Not so sure about those outfits, though.
Oh, I've got to run away.
Coming up next, we'll discover the benefits of keeping your church organ in the kitchen.
Nigel enjoys the fact that it's just at the kitchen because we can pass him cups of tea.
Oh, yes, eat your tea with one hand and play with the other.
We'll recall the year Britain went disco, and this man went flying. And it's 1976 and talent night down at the local. Well, of a sort. Tonight on Britain as Seen on ITV, we're looking back through 60 years of fantastic archive to celebrate those who have entertained the nation. Clearly, Britain has always had talent.
You will see a show that will live in your memory long after we have departed and gone.
Well, that's a super way of starting part 2.
In the days before The X Factor, it was everyone's dream to be discovered on TV shows like New Faces or Opportunity Knocks. But for those who couldn't get that far, there was always talent night at the local. Fortunately, ITV also recorded many of these events for posterity, like in this Yorkshire TV report from 1975.
Welcome to the Wise Owl Hotel here in North Leeds. We've got a really great contest for you here tonight. So let's go straight over and meet our referee for the night, Mr. Tony Ascot-Heath.
But this was a talent contest with a difference, with the aim of finding the worst singer in Leeds. Looks like the contest's already over.
Horace, that was a tremendously dynamic performance there. How long have you been singing?
12 months.
Now you've got a real following all around this part of the world, I'm told.
Yes, I have, yes.
Is it true that I hear that the girls scream and shout for you?
They do, yes, they do, yes.
And what about your future ambitions? Do you plan to go on Opportunity Knocks as well?
Yes, I'm waiting for audition now, yes. I'm waiting for audition, yes.
Well, it's all action now, and Horace has really got them going here at the Wise Owl. And the organist has thrown in the sheet.
Yes, over the years, ITV has shown us that you don't have to be an accomplished artist to do a musical turn on the telly. Take this pair, for example. Can't say I recognise him, but her face certainly rings a bell. Or these chaps who were featured in a Granada TV documentary after word got out that they'd installed a full-size church organ in a 3-bedroom house in Macclesfield.
The church that we belonged to, the organ became, well, not for sale, but it closed, and so we had to rescue it. So it was a case of where shall we put it?
This part is the kitchen, which half the organ sticks into.
Of course, we had to knock the wall out there, and we didn't even take the carpet up, so it was a good job. Shall we say there's no women here?
And Nigel enjoys the fact that it's just at the kitchen because we can pass him cups of tea.
Oh, yes, you can eat your tea with one hand and play with the other.
It's not usually cups of tea, really, though, is it?
Well, we won't go into that just yet.
Loving that roll neck, Nigel. In the late 70s, the popularity of organ music meant instruments like this were popping up all over the place. Not just in 3-bedroom bungalows, but in disused mills and even car showrooms.
They are part of our heritage. There is no replacement. We live in a almost day and age due to civilization and modernization where it's almost a plastic world. Again, we can't live without that. But there's nothing plastic or synthetic about that organ. Nothing at all. Each part of it is the result of individual craftsmanship. Let's put it in simple terms. Those things were made to last forever. They need our best.
The 70s was also an age when the sound of the organ pipes could be heard in dance halls across Britain. And 25 years before celebrities would get the bug for ballroom, this England hot-footed it over to Derbyshire to see some twinkle-toed amateurs in action.
I started dancing 3 years ago, and I suppose it was boredom, really. There isn't much to do in Buxton at all. All my mates think that it's girlish. They all make fun at me, which I don't mind, really. Just laugh it off.
Paul Hollins used to content himself with rolling out the milk churns. But today, he's a member of Buxton's newest formation dance team. But not everyone wants to compete. Sid Rogerson and his wife Bobby find their pupils are learning to dance for a variety of reasons.
People come to us to learn ballroom dancing, sometimes because they're lonely and they want the social contact. Sometimes they come because they feel, like I did really, that dancing is something which is within you and they want to learn how to express it. When couples come to us, it's usually the woman who forces her husband or her boyfriend to join a class. After a short while, it's always the male who really becomes interested and who really becomes a keen dancer.
But for those who fancied something more upbeat than ballroom, a different set of shapes were now being thrown across the dance floors. A new generation was being seduced by the latest sounds from America. Disco had arrived in Britain. By 1980, disco dancing was such a popular pastime that ITV's regional stations even set aside a night in the calendar to find their very own John Travolta. At the glamorously named Romeo and Juliet's in Doncaster, 12 enthusiastic amateurs battled it out to represent Yorkshire in the national disco dancing competition.
Out from Scarborough, Robert Scott. Let's hear it for Robert.
Your host was then Radio 1 DJ and Top of the Pops presenter Simon Bates, but it was soon clear who the real stars of the show were.
It's hometown time, Doncaster. Alan Pryor, 20 years old. Just down the road from Castleford at 21 years old, the First Lady is Julie Stockdale.
Winning a televised dance contest like this could prove a life-changing experience, but it wasn't all about the prestige. There were some fantastic prizes too.
For the winner, there's £100 in cash, plus, of course, a Ferguson hi-fi setup worth about 300 quid, and, of course, that chance to maybe become the UK disco dancing champion in the finals in October.
So who was it that went home with this amazing haul of high-tech equipment?
The winner! That's Mike Moran of the Yorkshire Disco Dancing Championship. Is Alan Collier. Oh, beautiful.
I wonder if he's still got that suit.
Fantastic. Let's see what a future world champion looks like.
Sadly, Alan didn't go on to be the world or even Britain's disco dancing champion, but he has earned his rightful place in 60 years of fantastic ITV archive. And there are more marvellous clips taking centre stage next week on Britain As Seen on ITV. When we'll look at the hobbies and pastimes that have kept us all busy over the decades. We'll rock the night away in Warwickshire.
Dig this. These cats belong to the Riverside Youth Centre in Leamington Spa. They're a cool-looking lot at the moment, but it's my guess that they're going to be dead beat in the morning.
Play some peculiar pub games in Leeds.
That's a better one. That's a flopper. That is a flopper.
And look at some other hobbies from British history that never really took off.